So now we've assessed our site and we've determined some of the characteristics that we want for this new plant in our entry garden. I've made a list here. I've noted the soil, which is a clay loam. pH is about 7.5, it's well drained. The sun is full sun, so remember that's about 6 hours or more. And the size is going to be about 36 inches tall, and 24 inches wide. That's at the mature size, in other words, the full-grown size of the plant. Some other considerations we need for this space are snow removal. This is a location, a garden bed, where we dump a lot of snow from the sidewalk and a little bit from our driveway as well. We want access to that rain barrel to be clear, also access to the hose on the hose ring, and then the rain barrel drain pipe. We need to be careful about that. We don't want to be digging into that or breaking it. And also the form. Now the form on this plant, remember it has the catmint in front, and so we want a form that's nice and upright, that kind of arches up behind that catmint, really shows it off. Some of the bonuses, I'd say, would be if the plant created some kind of sound, like a swooshy sound, like a grass might, or has movement, that it repeats. So we repeat other plants in that landscape to create a sense of unity across all of these different garden beds that we have. And then last but not least, and really important, is pollinator interest, pollinator habitat, and food opportunities. So in order to choose plants based on our characteristics that fit those characteristics, I'm going to use a database from University of Minnesota Extension called the Plant Elements of Design. Now this is a database of plants. It's not a design program. It's about 2,800 plants, both woody, like shrubs and trees, etc., and herbaceous plants, perennials, annuals, some fruits and vegetables. And I'm going to enter in these characteristics about sun, soil, and space and come up with a list of plants that I think is going to fit the environment and fit the entry garden that we need. So I'm going to sign into this. It's really easy to use, and we have all of the information online how to do this at extension.umn.edu. I'm going to log on, and we have a search window here. And I'm going to start with an herbaceous plant. I'm going to click on that. My maximum height, remember, is 36 inches, so I'll enter that in. My maximum spread or width of the plant is 24 inches. And this is all based on how we measure it outside. We also want a soil that this plant grows in adaptable soil, that it grows in a little bit of clay loam. Remember, we have a clay loam. So I'm going to just choose an adaptable plant that adapts to different kinds of soil. And then last but not least is the light. Remember that this was a full sun site, 6 or more hours. And I'm going to choose full sun as that option. And then I'm just going to click search. And there's lots of other options too, by the way. But I'm going to click search here and see what we come up with for plants. So we have quite a list here. 138 plants are available. So 138 plants, way too many to look through. So I've narrowed it down by adding in some more of the characteristics that I want, such as the form, that upright form. And I've printed out this list, which is printed on Excel, and I've got 17 plants that fit the criteria that we looked at outside: the sun, the space, and the soil. I'm going to take this list with me to the garden center and see what plants I can find that fit this list, that fit this criteria. Now, bear in mind, they may not have exactly the cultivar that's on this list, but they might have some other ones that are even better. So take a look at that. You might find a native plant as well that also fits that bill as well. So keep an open mind, and I'm going to go off to my garden center now, and I'll meet you outside and we'll take a look at what I bought. To be honest, not all these plants were available at my local nursery. A few of them were, or a few of other cultivars of the same genus were. So let's take a look at what I chose. This is a Liatris spicata, florist in white. And this was actually on the list, and it fits all of the qualifications, all the characteristics that we wanted in a plant: height, size, light, soil. This is a Ruby Star coneflower. Now, Magnus coneflower was on here. That cultivar of our Echinacea coneflower was on the list, but they didn't have that in the nursery. So I had to look for a similar one, a different cultivar, to see if I could come up with something that would fit. And this one does. Same height, 36 inches, grows to about 2 feet wide, and it tolerates, wants good drainage and also full sun as well. So it's a different cultivar of echinacea, but it meets all of the characteristics. This plant is called a Shenandoah switchgrass. Now, switchgrass wasn't on the list, but I did like the idea of a grass, and the Calamagrostis avalanche, the avalanche feather reed grass, was on the list. So that got me thinking a grass might be a pretty nice plant there. A lot of movement, a lot of sound. I happen to have this plant also in another part of my entry garden, which gives me that repetition, which creates unity across the different walkways. You see that same plant in a couple places, and your mind's eye registers that as a unifying factor. It makes it feel like it was all designed that way, even though you might have planted these at different times of the year. And then this is the wild card. So this plant is a Rudbeckia prairie glow, and it is a cultivar of our native Rudbeckia. And I like this plant because I happen to like another type of Rudbeckia that I have in my backyard as well. And I also like the shapes of the leaves. It too fits the qualifications that we are looking for, those characteristics of about 24 inches wide at mature size, 36 inches tall at mature size, and then full sun and well-drained soil. So, which one did I choose? The Liatris Floriston White, the Ruby Star Coneflower, the Shenandoah Grass, or the Prairie Glow Rudbeckia? I chose the Shenandoah Grass, and here's why. It's got these great red tips for color. The form will really contrast and be different from the catmint that's in front of it. It's a nice, noisy plant. It has great sound and great movement right by the front door. And important is thinking about wintertime when we can take it down to the ground and pile snow up on top of it. So from an accessibility standpoint, it's great. From a utilitarian standpoint, easy to work with, and it's really going to give some unusual, interesting foliage contrast behind that very bright purple catmint. So next up, we're going to actually plant the Shenandoah grass in the entry garden and see how it looks. Join me.